even reading this, I was just, at first I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And the costs aren't specified within here, but then secondly, how are we keeping track of this? Like, I think, like, I have a septic system, I just had my people come out to do my inspection of my septic system, right, for the city health, or for the Clinton County Health District, or whatever it is, right? How are we as a city going to monitor, like, I would think a yearly or an annual inspection for low-risk residential would be a nightmare from an administrative perspective, so I'm good with 5 years.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, there's why don't you go over to David, so you're not with it. So there is the person at the last meeting, when this was first adopted, there is an organization out there that does the tracking, notification. I think there's a small fee for that.
There always is.
Yes.
Yeah, well, no one does it for free, so.
Yes.
But,
Yeah, I mean, the city can do it, or a third party can do it. Initially, we had the third party contractor, Beppo, that was after this item in the January meeting, that would have done that. But since that item was pulled back, the city's taking a little more of the lead on it to do it. But it is a time consuming process.
Sure.
I think during that discussion, it was, Bert and I had a lot of objection to this going forward because it was kind of sticker shock.
No.
The ordinance to pass, yes, we're getting in compliance with state law, was passed some number of years ago, but we didn't see the impact it was about to have on annual inspections cost-wise. So I think Bert, you recommended we didn't do the Beppo, and then that we kind of slow roll the program.
Yeah,
I'd say 5 years is good for me.
I'm not a big fan of this, period. And that's not what's on this agenda, but, so, a ladder approach, I'm good with until.
Right,
we
keeps
get-
us in compliance.
It does 5 years protect us.
yes, because we have provisions in the ordinance that we can, anytime they're out there doing meter reads or whatever, they
You
can
just,
inspect
you
it.
just see
If it appears to be not in working order, or if it's like buried or something, then we can require tests
yeah.
based on visual inspection.
I just don't want, I know this is state law requiring us to do this, so we don't really have a choice, but the thought is, I mean, how much have we had issues with this inter-well water supply? Have we had problems with this in Robinson?
Fortunately, no, but does it happen? Yeah, there's places around, and when it happens, it's not good. 'Cause
It's hard to find.
well, it's not just hard to find, but you typically have to do a boil water notice and flush your whole system. We test at multiple test points around your city, which could take up to, a week to 10 days, depending on how big an area you're serving, before everybody can go back to their water usage. So you don't really want it to happen.
It's
You
one
want
of
to
those
be more
things called.
proactive, so that's what the intent of the legislation is, to make it more proactive. I mean, there have been, it hasn't got there yet, but there's actually been discussions, and I think you'll eventually see a code come up where you'll have to have this for any connection, even the residential, where the house is connected, but right now it's just irrigation, because the irrigation system, is out there, and it's on the, it's in the ground, and the sprinkler heads are in the ground, and if it's underwater and you get a vacuum, it'll just suck that water and the fertilizer, the pesticides, and everything just gets sucked right into it. So that's kind of the low hanging fruit on this right now, but I think over time, and then certain commercial uses have to have it, whether it's irrigation or.
To Jeremy's question about how does city track it, we're approximately 1,500, 2,000 systems, you think? How many irrigation systems?
I don't know, I mean, we're finding some, so we only started doing permits, I want to say 5 years ago,
Something like that.
because that was partially my fault. I had an irrigation system put in, and I said, what do I need to do about getting a permit? And they said, we don't do a permit. I'm like, what do you mean we don't do a
It's
permit?
not great.
So, I'll take the blame, or I'll
No,
get be as
But
charged.
no idea to the actual count of these
Not,
in the ground?
I don't know off the top of my head how many.
We have to go back and look at our irrigation permits and see that. There's always ones that never got a permit, so you never get the exact
Oh,
number.
sure.
So he was asking how do we track it, so do we, I know we
meter, and he sees a backflow preventer, he'll pop the lid. And we actually use one of the guys we just sent to the certification training, so. He works for Destiny, you're back there, aren't you? Destiny?
Yes.
So he's doing that, he's recording locations, and all that. So,
My thought
so
was,
we're in the process of implementing right now, so that's why we felt like it was a good time to change this, as we're trying to come up with how are we gonna do all this, so that's still a work in progress.
if we have 1,000 and we just send out notices in a month, hey, you all have a certain date to get yours inspected. We're gonna overwhelm the available inspectors, so,
Yeah, I don't think we have 1,000.
I don't know.
Especially if we're only doing the high hazard.
But we're gonna cause a wave, because in 5 years, we got that same number.
Yeah, you'd have to.
So
Well, no,
this-
I think the discussion we had from staff standpoint is that this passes, we will sit down and try to look at them and just try to stage them to where we'll do a percentage or, spread them out over the 5 years so that we don't have them all to do at one time.
Right, because I mean, it would just be very, very difficult all at one time, so if we stagger it, there's a lot.
So this is part of the implementation process, because we started this going, well, it's gonna be really difficult to do every single one, and so that's why we looked at the state law and everything, and then looked at a lot of local ordinances. Not too many people require everybody to do it every year. There are some that do, there are some that just do it based on visual inspection. If you do visual inspection, you see it's an issue, then you make them do a test. There are others like this that do it every 5 years, so we just brought this at this point to see if that's an option.
I'm good at 5, and I would say, sign me up, it's not my name. I'm good with 5.
And again, the goal is not to figure out a way to charge people more money, the goal is to protect the water systems.
And the city doesn't collect a fee for the inspections, or does the fee come through the inspection? How does this work?
Well, I mean, there are some cities that will actually do the inspection for a fee, and I don't think we have the staff to do that,
But you,
but it would go to the
you
homeowner.
sent 2 employees.
You know, we have
to
two
this-
of our employees, but that, part of that is because we have our own requirements for backflow preventers that have to be tested annually, and so they're not, but it will allow them to go out on, like if they discover an issue with one, we could potentially do a test at that point to determine if it needed it. So, but I don't know that we could do it as, with the current staffing,
If
to
you
say
did that
we'll do it
test
all.
on a random check, and the city does it, then you bill the customer, or is it just,
Probably not if it was something we were just doing as part of the inspection.
if you kind of roll this up over 5 years, do you have manpower to let the city?
I
Do
can
that.
answer that. I would say,
I'd
off the
say-
top of my head, probably not, just
I'd say
because
it's not.
each of those people has another job.
So the
Or
homeowner
two.
or the property owner, the commercial business owner, the reason that is, we're gonna get into a pickle of, oh, well, does the city staff know what they're doing? This is, they get to select their funds,
Right.
and then that would be
If we would start out with the commercial and high hazard.
every year, but
Well, they're already
starting with
doing,
soon.
commercial stuff already has to do it. I mean, Greg has been staying on top of that,
Especially if they are,
the ones that are reporting, and whatever.
anything that has to do with the health department, any gas stations, restaurants, anybody that's serving food, because the health department wants to see them when they want them.
Yeah, so this is just more implementing it on the residential side. We're doing the commercial.
I'm good with 5 as it is.
This requires a public hearing, so you can't do this one.
You good with those terms?
Yes.
Item 4 is going to be establishing the Parks and Recreation Board with Steve Robinson.
So, last meeting, you all had a discussion about sport park, splash pad, and a discussion about creating a park board. So, the ordinance you have here is an ordinance to create a park board. Creates a 7-member board that's appointed by the council. The ordinance actually specifies the terms and the length of the terms, and it outlines the duties. It also, I did also put in there a requirement to designate a council liaison to the board. So,
Yeah,
Somebody gets-
there was no stone
just
left
fill that
unturned.
role, and, I
You
remember off the top of my head,
Oh, yeah, that's on the
it tasks task then with creating a master plan and periodically reviewing it and making recommendations. Strictly a recommending body, anything we do would be a recommendation to council for council to make final action. They would not actually have any authority to make final decisions. So,
I read the ordinance,
Yeah, that's right.
and compared it to a couple others. Craig and I talked about it, and it's got everything in it. He will have, I questioned a couple of, some verbiage, but I'm good with it, that was approved.
I would agree. I would also recommend moving that to a consent agenda item, since it's not a public hearing.
Agreed.
yes.
Move it.
Yeah.
So if it does pass tonight, your next goal is you guys start recruiting people to serve on it. So we'll get it posted, and get applications,
I don't think we're
and
gonna.
schedule interviews.
Well, I think there's, we're gonna have to tell some folks no, and that's gonna be the hardest part of it. They're picking some people and not picking some other people that have subcommittees.
Mine's eyes are here for that.
Yeah.
We always have subdivisions.
Okay, so we're good for moving item 11 to consent agenda?
Yes.
Good item. All right, yeah, so 5's gonna be the amending chapter 5.5, article 4, to repeal and replace section 559 code regarding use of hotel tax revenues. Greg, more enlighten us?
This was Destiny's, I don't want to steal her thunder, but I was, state law changes periodically on this. Our ordinance doesn't completely match state law right now, and so I think this just changes it to where we match for purposes of funds.
Is there any-
Match what state law is.
So is that it? I mean, that's the only change from what was written.
Yeah, so the way that our ordinance was written, was really complicated, and I feel like it was hindering how we could spend the money, cause like, for an example, it states the portion of the hotel occupancy tax revenue allocated by the city for the purposes provided in subsection A above may not exceed 75% of the total of such tax revenue. Like, the state isn't that restricted, but we are on several of
So
the,
we have cleaned up, simplified, and now state.
we match the
regular.
state, right? We'll still have to, reference what's in that chapter,
Mhm.
but this opens it up to be able to, where we don't have to come back and amend this again to be in compliance with the state.
If that's the case, then
I
also
love
recommend
this
this
one.
one consent agenda as well.
I agree.
Yes.
Council, go with that?
Destiny, thank you for doing that.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
simplifying things.
All right, discussion regarding garage sale and estate sale permits. This was going to be, are we looking at abolishing the permit? Removing the
Well,
permit?
that's what we were gonna discuss with you guys. Here recently, same type of issues, just different subject, where people are trying to, skirt the rules, and it's kind of putting some of our employees in a bind, because there's not a set, it's not set exactly in the ordinance, but we have people coming in who aren't on the property deed or are not associated to the utility account, and they're wanting to get garage sale permits, and in the ordinance, it doesn't state that they have to be, either one of those, but other cities do that, and it kind of complicates things, because the last thing we wanna do is issue a garage sale permit to someone, and then the owner come back and say, you didn't have permission to do that. So as I was looking around, we were talking about the city of Waco recently removed the requirement for the permits. The ordinance is still there, the garage sale permits are still regulated, where you're only allowed to have 2 or 3 per year, I can't remember how many they are. But basically, their whole outlook on it was that the people who are following the rules, who are only having their set amount per year, who are using the signage that is required, are not the ones breaking the law. The ones that are breaking the law are not coming in to get a permit. So all you're really doing is creating an extra obstacle for the ones who are following the rules. And so the ordinance would still be there, the rules would still be there, on their end, what they've done, except for they don't have to come in and get a permit.
And our ordinance still protects from
that's how you would keep it,
So,
yes.
so if somebody is trying to basically turn it into a revenue source, a
A flea
business,
market.
we can still have some teeth with enforcing the regulation, but we're taking the burden off of every normal person that has one every few years.
Destiny's stupid question, if they're not coming in for a permit, how are we quantifying or regulating, monitoring someone not?
Complaints.
Complaints,
I mean,
yeah.
literally, there was someone down the street at my mom's house, and they, for like 2 months straight, they had a garage sale. Like,
Yeah, it's basically complaints, because we don't have code compliance, that works on the weekends, so we don't really have anyone to monitor it. I know some of our officers try to, but if, you know, it's a busy weekend, you know, they don't have anyone to pull off just to check those.
But
So,
that
yeah,
problem
it's a
exists
really.
whether we have an ordinance.
And those are the people that aren't following.
Yeah,
the
and
ordinance.
they're not,
Right.
they're not coming to get it. They're doing it consistently every weekend for 2 months, they did not come to get it.
If they're looking at
So-
2 times a year, I would say quarterly, can we give them 4 and abolish the, was it the $5 fee, $10 fee?
The fee was associated with permitting. If we remove the permitting, then there
Remove the
would be
permit.
What is the fee, 6,
10.
10?
Remove
But
the-
that comes with
All of our
3
lost
signs.
revenues.
You're charging $10, you give them $15 worth of signs.
Remove the permit and I would say allow them to put it.
Yeah, what is it?
Do you wanna do like,
What we put 2 a year now?
it's
2 to
Twice.
3.
Twice, unless, there's weather, unless there's a weather issue, they can contact us that Monday.
So Sean would love to have it this year. She would love that.
If we remove the requirement, if y'all wanna keep the requirement for the permit, we only ask the staff if we add a little bit more teeth to it, which states that they're required to be listed on the utility or the property.
Yeah, no, I'd remove the permit and then up the amount of times they could have it per year. Quarterly.
I
I mean,
concur
this
with
is-
that, but do we need to get, I know
Right,
you've
this is
got
for
some
discussion.
examples, but no, I'm concur with what you said.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
Well, this is just discussion.
Yeah.
So we'll draft an ordinance and bring it back, so if there's anything you would like to see us address in something new, we can definitely do that, so.
I would say remove the permit and go quarterly.
And then just be, I guess, in the ordinance, it'll just be clear what violates, what doesn't violate, all that fun stuff. and wait for
We'll
the
keep an
neighbors to
eye out on
come
the
in.
weekends.
Well, and if they
Unless
start
you-
doing the, if they have like continuous, then they can actually potentially start getting into the zoning violations, because now you're basically running a retail business out of there.
Then you can get
So
them
you
like
have
do it 4
other-
times a year, so
other
that's
things.
one every weekend for 4 weeks and then.
Well, sometimes it takes a good couple weekends to get rid of them.
Oh my gosh, you're wrong.
So I think the ordinance does state though that you can't have consecutive garage sales. You're allowed to have 2 per year, but it has to be, I think, a 2-week break. I can't remember exactly what it says.
Yeah, that seems reasonable, like, just so it's not.
Every quarter.
One every quarter. It's cut and dry.
We'll visit that back at the regular agenda. Okay, what about item 14, discussion and direction regarding dump truck? Very good.
So as you're aware, we recently totaled our 25-year-old dump truck, our old manual transmission truck, so we were trying to figure out what are we gonna do about it. You know, so I didn't expect to get much in the way of insurance, but we ended up getting a little over $34,000 for a truck that we thought was maybe worth 10, so that actually turned out pretty well. With that amount, we could actually, and what I mentioned here is we could use that for down payment, and then do a 5-year lease purchase on the remainder, dump truck that we used to get. And 15 now, this one's 25.
25 years, yeah, it should be 25
It
years.
would definitely last beyond the lease term, and we have 2 vehicles in the street farm right now that we can lease to pay off this year, that we're paying about $40,000 a year on. So the plan was to come back next year anyway, and say, we want to use that money now to lease
Just
another
did it
dump truck.
early.
Remember, if we had a dump truck in this year, we took it out
Yeah.
to the dirt patch. So basically, it just gets us where we're gonna get next year, and we'll use the insurance payment for that.
Somebody found a loophole.
So,
I'm getting it this year.
Because we're down to 1 dump truck right now. And we really need two, because before we're done on a job, we gotta stop and go haul, get material, where it's to go back and forth.
I would say move this to consent agenda.
Well, and it's just a direction, that if you're comfortable, we'll bring it back to me. I think David's getting prices for both the lease purchase and everything, it's just, we'll bring it back next agenda for approval. So,
Cool.
if you want any discussion further, we will. I think you know, further, I just want, before we spend time pulling everything together, I just want to make sure you're all comfortable. I know when we talked at one point about we might have to look at going in the dirt patcher, and we got feedback from a couple like, but I don't know what it is, so, like I said, kind of just waiting on the insurance, and when they came back with the number that it was very good. It actually works out. We actually get a new truck out of the dealer a year earlier than we thought we needed to. I guess if a total vehicle can be the win this one.
Right.
Unfortunately, the driver was not hurt.
Yeah.
Just a few bruises and cuts and scratches. And that was a tough truck to drive. It was not a forgiving truck when you were driving.
We'll ask for further direction on that regular agenda. Item 15, we can finish the regular agenda just for the sake of time. Is Mr. Guy here?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 16 is going to be the workshop on the ordinance that is deleting its entirety of pending phase zoning, supplementary districts, site plan approval, and adding a site development exhibit A. Mr. Harold? Yes.
And that is just a discussion for this weekend.
Presently in our code, we have a site plan in our zoning code that kind of sets up the outline for this. There are items that need expansion upon, there are items that need to be added to it, so the easiest way is to strike it from the code, create a new chapter 26 called site development, and just add that standard into it. It'll cover a multitude of expanded and new things, like how to do the review, what's required for the plan sets, how to deal with traffic impacts of certain developments, certain exemptions that are required, and I can expand upon that more when we get to the workshop portion.
That's what it does.
Perfect.
Any additional questions for Mr. Harold this time? We'll do that here in a few minutes. Council, any other questions on this workshop? Then we will move to about a minute for
to the business meeting here at hand. All right, 6:30, we will call the meeting to order. Can you hear me in the back?
We good out here, yeah. Get it to them like that. Or make them sit next to her.
Council good?
We're good.
We're good.
All right, if we would please rise for the invocation, please, and then we will remain for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Rogers.
Absolutely. Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time together for our community. We just ask for your wisdom, that we'd have the ability to discern what is right and what is best for our town. Father, we just lift up our first responders to you. Keep them safe. Keep them safe, Father. We ask the same for our staff, that you would just be with them throughout their workday, that they would feel your presence, Father. It's in your Son's holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's sure nice
That
hearing
was
that sweet
cute.
voice out
Yeah.
there. Thank you all. Roll call, please.
Rogers,
Here.
Master George,
Here.
Eckerly,
Here.
Stegner,
Here.
McLean,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Birch.
All right, moving to item 5, the citizens' comments. At this time, is anyone in the audience like to speak on any non-agenda item? We have one, Mr. Scott Beatty. Step on up, please, sir. Name and address for the record, and Destiny, if you don't mind.
My name is Scott Beatty. Myself and my wife Stephanie reside at 217 North Stovall Drive in Robinson, Texas. I purchased that property in 2003 and hoped to build a house there because I like the countryside of Robinson, the east side. Built a home there in 2015, so I'm coming up on my 10-year anniversary on the property. Okay, the issue I'm addressing tonight is, I guess I would sum it up in three things. We have light pollution from a neighbor's property. We have a light trespass from the neighbor's property. And we also have a light nuisance issue. This picture here is taken from the driveway leading into my garage. From this point of view, looking exactly due west, is approximately 1,500 feet. My property is 3 acres. Between myself and that property is another property that runs up to Stegall. My property fronts Stovall. It's another 3-acre property. The gentleman's house with all the commercial lighting, I guess, bright lights, is on 910 Stegall, and he sits on 6 acres. This picture is taken from my back patio, looking over my 6-foot privacy fence. It kind of, covers around the pool and stuff. Looking directly west at his property. These first few pictures that we're looking at right now were taken around 11 to 11:30 p.m. on a Wednesday night. Same picture, I panned a little bit north and west. In addition to the house, there is a back barn or building, if you will, that is also shrouded in the high-intensity lighting. And it lights up the canopies of the trees and the greenbelt woodsy area behind there. This is a picture of the inside of my living room on the east wall. The property is to the west. My blinds are completely closed, and this is the actual residual light that is penetrating through my residence with the blinds closed, and this is once again after 11:30 at night on a Wednesday night. This is looking back west through my living room back towards his property, same time of night. Once again, just another picture, and I have one of those windows where you can do the blinds, and you can kind of actually see where the strings are that hold the blinds because there's lines going through the glass. This is from inside my lawn, inside my privacy fence. The privacy fence puts an immediate cut onto the facade of my house. The swimming pool is slightly to the right, so this is what is seen from the neighbor's point of view. This is another picture. We have a little above ground pool. This is just to the right of that pool, looking into the small window would be the kitchen, the living room, just looking back into the house west to east. Same time of night. This picture was taken on a Friday morning. I had a little home gym, so I get up and work out. So this is roughly 5 a.m. This is in my driveway looking, once again, east to west toward the lights. But I had moved away toward the end of my driveway. I have a shop there to the right, and then I have a back barn. And this is the view I get. That's me in the shadow. gym clothes and everything. Looking back west to east, his property is at my back. The trees in the front of my property are close to 100-year-old native oak trees. That tree there has about a 65-foot tall canopy, so you can see the effect of the light on the canopy of that tree. And at that point, you're looking at about 1,600 feet from the residence. This is a picture I took. I have a circular drive at my house that goes around behind my shop and my back barn. And I stood there with his lights to my back and took a picture. That's how the lights from his back barn illuminate my barn. And you can see in the very left corner of the picture, you see the red light on my security camera. So it's like picking up the fact that those lights are so bright, it's trying to figure out what is happening. This picture, my dog joined me. You can see the little shadow. So this is roughly halfway from the back barn to my house. I took that picture. You can see the light come off his back building, and then the light that comes around my back barn. That's what the illumination of my house looks like at 5 a.m. But it looks like that all night, 7 days a week.
So you don't have to turn on many lights at your own house, right? Like you.
No, ma'am, I can walk on my entire
Yeah.
property and not even trip or even
Yeah.
step on the grass. I mean, it's as if like a sports complex.
Wow.
I don't know if you had any more photos.
No, I think you got your point across.
Okay, so there's other issues with this. I tried to approach my neighbor. I know him by name, Matt Licata. I approached him a couple of years ago. We had an issue with a house behind my barn between his. We had some people move in there and they were unsavory characters. And there was a need to turn lights on when you start having DJ parties and you start having this strong odor of marijuana. And then when the handguns start going off at midnight and 2 in the morning, it's time to turn on some lights. Everybody could agree with that.
Military grade lights.
Police come out multiple times. That family moved, the house sold. We have a nice new, young, hardworking family, 2 college-educated people. They're just trying to do what they can. They love Robinson. They're here. So I approached my neighbor about the lights because in the last 4 months they have become unbearable. They have gone from a amber, warm kind of exterior lighting to just full-blown military-grade lighting. And his comment was that, he gets nights and weekends free, so it's no big deal. And I said, okay, they're really bright. My wife and I had her son and his fiance out visiting, and people come out and go, man, this would be a great place if it wasn't for the lights. What's up with the lights? I asked him again, I said, let's have a compromise here. I know you have a home business. He has Explorer Performance Airboats. I said, you have a business. In your business hours, it says that your business is 0800 to 1700, Monday through Saturday. I said, is there any way we can make a compromise where after your business hours, you turn off your lights? And the conversation deteriorated. We'll leave it at that. So that was the last phone call we had. I called the police 2 times since then because the welding, the grinding, the banging, the lights, it's just insane. Police can't do anything about it. It's not really a criminal issue. I filed a complaint with C-Click-Fix. So I'm hoping this is going to get resolved. I haven't heard anything other than my complaint has been acknowledged. So I've just been doing all the research I could. I read through your city code, section 10.1. So there's some arguments that only has specificity for commercial properties. But the words residential is mentioned in there several times. So I don't know if that's the context of residential next to commercial in regards to light spillage, light pollution, and light trespass. There's specific parameters for incandescent bulbs where they must be fully shielded with an 80-degree cutoff, meaning that's 90, that's 80, no uplighting, period. Okay, there's wattage limitations. I think it's a very well-written code of ordinances. I built my place, there was a city inspector here, and his name was Barry. I do not remember his last name, and Barry had come from the city of Hewitt. This is all I know. So I was the general contractor and the builder of my place, and he put me through the ringer. I mean, this guy, and I respect him for it, but he had put me through the ringer. And as the general contractor, I stood every inspection. All of my lighting had to be fully shielded, shrouded, down angled. I mean, so I followed his lead and I got a certificate of occupancy. That was my goal. And that was 10 years ago. So now I'm wondering why 10 years later, the city has made such great progress. The city of Robinson is growing. Lots of people are moving here because it's a beautiful place to live. What can be done about this?
Okay. Well, what you have brought us today is certainly something that we're gonna be looking into.
For sure.
Excuse me, throat's dry. This is gonna be on a topic of conversation at our next council meeting. We are hoping to, maybe we have something to be able to have in front of the next council meeting as far as an ordinance goes. We do need to run this through our legal team. We need to look through and make sure where the residential use, and that's typically for what you're reading is from the outfall lighting from a commercial to a residential. But this is a case that who would have thought that we would have to fight something like this? And unfortunately, your neighbor is going to be made the example on this council. Certainly, from my way of thinking, that no one should have to endure
Yeah, that's awful.
that kind of lighting. So,
Truly.
but you got to give us a little bit of time to put something together. The evidence that you presented here is something that we will use, and we appreciate that. We're sorry that you're dealing with this for now, but give us a little time, and we'll get you a response.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all's help.
Hopefully you won't
All right.
live in the spotlight too much longer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming up.
That's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
You like to want to stand in your bedroom window looking back at
Come on, baby, let's look at the stars.
Yeah.
Look at comment.
He can too.
They're out in the country too, yeah.
Oh. All right, item 6 is presentations tonight. We have a few proclamations. First up is going to be the St. John Evangelical Church. Let's see here. I think I remember, was it 15 years ago? Was it a 125th anniversary?
Yeah, in 2009, that would have been the 125,
Yeah, okay. You remember that one? Everybody, good deal. Well, here we are at 140 years, so, if you would step up and please introduce yourselves.
I'm Jacob Brenton. I'm the pastor at St. John United Church of Christ, and our original name was St. John Evangelical Church here in Robinson, and we're glad to be a part of this community for 140 years and are hoping for many more.
Very cool.
That's awesome. Good deal. Well, I would like to read this proclamation for your church, and I'm gonna come up front to say it. Do we have any petitioners or members of church here?
We have several, and then Shelby.
Well, if you're a member, step on up. We're putting you in the front row.
No, the other side. He's right in front of her. See, he always has that angry.
How long have you been a member of the church?
Oh,
Since you were born?
oh my
So that's-
gosh.
Yes. Just. Hello. Yeah, how long have you been a member of the church? A lifetime.
And choir practices right now, and that's where about 15 full service
Oh,
services.
then let's get you back on your way here. All right, proclamation, whereas in 1884, a small group of Christians, most of whom were of German heritage, formed a church in Robinson, then known as St. John Evangelical Church, and whereas after Robinson's public school was destroyed in a storm in 1889, the church formed an academy which educated local children until 1928. And whereas the church
has played an integral role in the growth and development of Robinson for decades. And whereas the church continues in mission and ministry to our community today through participation in Shepherd's Heart Food Pantry, Outreach Ministries, the Robinson Ministerial Alliance, Robinson ISD School Supply Donations, Robinson Police Department Blue Santa Gifts, and more. And whereas, though the church has grown and changed with time, now being known as St. John United Church of Christ, its mission of sharing the love of God in our town has remained unchanged. And now therefore, I, Bert Eckerling, Mayor of the City of Robinson, Texas, do hereby recognize and publicly commend St. John United Church of Christ, its leadership, past and present, and its members to the remarkable accomplishment of 140 years of service to God and God's people. The City Council and citizens of Robinson join me in congratulating this congregation that continues to be vital and integral part of our community. Thank you. Okay, great. Congratulations. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'm gonna sign that. Okay.
Yeah, let me sign.
Our anniversary service is October 27th. If you'd like to come, email the church if you want to write chicken lunch afterwards.
Three more years, we get 150.
Yes.
You're good at that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you want those chickens, I also. Yeah, okay. No, I like the waffle fries.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Next time I'll have to introduce myself.
Matthew Ruggieri, step on up and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, my name is Andrew, and I'm a student at MCC. I'm not really sure why I was called up.
No, it's totally a surprise.
Okay.
Poor kid.
All right, come in performance.
You know, you shine bright, brother.
Yes.
You know it's coming.
It's a total surprise.
Would you like
Because
to-
I'm not quite sure.
would you like to step up and- All right. All right, Matthew. So this is a proclamation in your name. So this is a proclamation from the City of Robinson. It's a great honor to recognize Mr. Matthew Ruggieri. Is that what you pronounce it? Yes, sir. Okay. A 2024 graduate alumni of Robinson High School and McLennan County freshman. And whereas Mr. Matthew Ruggieri attends MCC, where he is currently pursuing his degree, he has continued his love for film, story, and science through his gravitation lensing video for the Breakthrough Junior Video Contest. He has placed in the final 16 worldwide entries and is currently awaiting the final vote in November of 2024. If chosen as the winner, Robinson High School would receive a $100,000 science lab, and one of his mentors, Mr. Thornton, would receive $50,000.
Wow.
While a senior at Robinson High School, his documentary, The Urban Rescue Ranch, won third place in the UIL State Film Festival contest. The film won the Nobility Award for Social Change that resulted in Robinson High School receiving $1,000 for its AV department. The film is currently receiving an award at an All-American High School Film Festival in New York on October 19th, 2024. His junior year, his documentary, Parker's Park, received fourth place at the UIL State Film Festival contest. While attending Robinson High, Matthew helped lead the way for the high school's audio-visual team through managing tennis and band social media pages. supporting yearly graduation ceremonies, creating numerous graphic designs and hype videos for football, band, and tennis, and Robinson ISD. He served as president of Student Council and vice president of the National Honor Society, and 4 years as president of the Band Council. He was a member of the varsity tennis team for 4 years, first chair French Horn Texas All-State Symphonic Band 3 years in a row. He also served as a squad leader during his 4 years in marching band. He volunteered countless hours and was a board member for the Bright Memorial Scholarship Fund. Whereas we commend Mr. Matthew Ruggieri for his dedication, commitment, and contribution to his community and school. Whereas it is truly an honor to recognize Mr. Matthew Ruggieri for his dedication in his roles as a leader and as an alumni student in Robinson High School. We wish him continued success in his college career and future endeavors. Now therefore, I, Bert Ector, Mayor of the City of Robinson, Texas, do hereby recognize and publicly commend Mr. Matthew Ruggieri for his dedication, commitment, and contribution to his community and school, and urge all citizens to join with his family and friends on this joyous occasion to congratulate Matthew on his success. It's an honor.
Do you have anything to say?
Thank you all so much. I really appreciate it.
Surprise.
Young man, that's quite an achievement, and it sounds like you've got a long way to go and a lot of stuff to do, so
Yes, sir.
congratulations
Thank you so much.
very much. Here, let's get a picture. You want a free mom?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, step on in here, Mom. There's a lot of people proud of you.
I want to shake his hand. I want to be like, oh my goodness. That's amazing. Very, very awesome.
Congratulations, sir.
Yes.
You got more coming.
thank y'all so much.
Now, hold it back, I just said.
Man,
I'll get him.
good.
Great work, thank you.
Good to see you.
I'm glad to know that, I got to be a part of your early career.
No kidding.
I, made a video for me, so. Good work, good work.
Congratulations, bud. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Did a video.
And he didn't know what he was here for.
Yeah, that was great.
Can't we have one of those every 2 weeks? Very cool.
We have one more presentation tonight. This is gonna be for Leanne Hageman.
No.
It just keeps getting better. Like, I can't.
Can't see her.
This young lady here.
Ugh. She's getting so big.
You wanna tell us a little bit about yourself? Go ahead, tell everybody.
I go first name Speedy. I'm a barrel racer. I love to do it. It's my job to train on horses. My favorite thing to do. I will never stop doing it. Ever.
Well, it sounds like you've done a really good job. I wanna read.
I'm back from Las Vegas.
Wow. Look at that belt buckle.
My horse's name is Speedy.
It's a good name for a horse. Tell me about your belt buckle.
I won this buckle at Hamilton. I got first place in the age division, and this is how I won the buckle.
Very nice. Very nice. You're a barrel racer. You ain't much bigger than a barrel. I think your barrel's a little bigger than you, huh? No, you got them, don't you? You got them barrels. All right, well, Miss Leanne, I want to read you something. Is that okay? All right. Whereas the city of Robinson is greatly honored to recognize Miss Leanne Hageman as a second grader at Robinson Elementary School, and whereas Miss Hageman placed first in her barrel racing event at the Vegas Toughest Junior World Championship Qualifier event in Hamilton, Texas, on May 24, 2024. She will compete for the Junior World Championship in Las Vegas in December 2024. And whereas Ms. Hageman practices and competes after school from January through the finals in December, She also qualified in the top 5 in the Ogden 8 and under World Championship on August 11th, 2024. Placed first in the annual Youth Super Bowl event on August 4th, 2024. And reserve champion for, what is CHTHSA? Central Texas Horse Show Association, 2024. And has maintained an AB honor roll this school year. We're proud of that too. Whereas we commend Ms. Hageman for her dedication, commitment, and contribution to her community and school, and whereas it is truly an honor to recognize Ms. Hageman for her dedication in her roles as an athlete and student in Robinson Elementary School. We wish her continued success in her barrel racing, school, and future endeavors. Now therefore, I, Bert Eckerling, Mayor of the City of Robinson, Texas, do hereby recognize and publicly commend Ms. Leanne Hageman and urge all citizens to join with her family and friends on this joyous occasion to congratulate Leanne on her success in barrel racing. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Can't see your eyes. That's what I like to see. Thank you.
She's had a busy year, Mom.
Council meeting.
My God. When in December is she going to Vegas?
She will run on December 8th and December 9th, and if she qualifies in the top 10, then she'll run the shootout on the 10th.
Oh my gosh. You guys have to drive up there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Is that gonna be part of the NFR?
Yes. Part, since she's not 18, she can't run at the NFR with the older.
The older
It's like the
ones?
juniors.
So, yes, so they have a junior NFR that the kids go to under qualified.
Well, I want you to bring some film back.
Oh my God.
All
She
right?
said, I love it and I'm never going to stop doing it. Oh, unbelievable.
Yes, we would love to have some video come
Oh
back.
my gosh.
Hey, Brittany, I'm not crying, you're crying.
I know. Oh my God. As soon as she started talking.
And Speedy, we gotta have a picture of Speedy.
Speedy. She said, I love Speedy. That, God, that was adorable.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Thank
Yes,
you very
and
much.
good luck in December.
Mhm.
She's not cute at all, is she? Look at her.
She outdressed me tonight, I need to get.
I know,
Yeah,
no
she-
kidding, I need to
She's
tuck
a
my
short
shirt in.
dressed girl. Her sister is too. They're always dressed good. Bye, y'all. See you
Bye,
later.
Michelle.
Leanne, good luck.
Need some more fruits.
Y'all don't want this one in here.
Bull rider.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was so
That's pretty cool. That's a good night.
Lord.
Watch the barrel races all
She
the
said,
time.
I'm never going to
Part of
stop.
Texas. It is really good.
Those two came across, and I was like, well, heck yeah, we need to recognize those two for sure, for one.
20 in the whole state here in Robinson.
Yeah.
I can't even. And then we have a filmmaker. I can't even like make a TikTok. Doing all of that in high school.
Yeah, right. Okay, council, that'll move us into our consent agenda items. That's gonna be items 7 and 8, and we moved 11 and 12 onto consent. We have any, further discussion on that, or are we good with consent?
No, Mayor, I'll move to approve consent agenda items 7, 8, and regular agenda item number 11
I'll second that motion.
Oh, and 12?
and 12, my bad, yes.
And 12, Mr. Master George?
Yes.
7, 8, 11, and 12, move to consent. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Regular agenda item 9 is a public hearing. Continue a public hearing considering possible action on ordinance 2024-027 and ordinance 2024-028, Ordinance of the City of Robinson, Texas, changing the land use from commercial to low-density residential and zoning from light commercial C1 district to HUD Code Manufactured Housing District, MH District on .53 acres located at 4178 South Old Robinson Road, Galinda 1 acres, .53. Public hearing opens at 7:03. Mr. Harrell? Yes. 7:01. I think I said 3.
Alright. This sign that was before you, last time, the applicant asked that item to be moved forward, we're hearing this item tonight. The reason for this change is a mobile home currently on the site, it's been vacant more than 1 year, and it's lost its legal non-conforming status. So in other words, the use that's there doesn't match the zoning that's there. Commercial does not allow for any kind of residential zoning, hence the MH zoning, because it is residential and a mobile home as well. The rezoning would make the home conforming to site, so not conforming to the actual zoning standards, so it could be put in use again as residential. Just a moment here.
Is it on?
It is. I think the battery's dead. Excuse me for a moment.
There's a lot of lights on that last presentation.
Yeah, used it all.
Well, so you can, change it to, I'll touch the screen.
Okay. Just touch the screen.
Yeah, you should just touch it.
I think you have to hit the, yeah.
Oops.
Nope.
Fine.
No, none of the buttons. Try, take your finger and swipe it.
Oh,
No.
no.
Yep, that did it.
It did.
Do it this way.
That's bigger.
Surrounding parcels, as you notice, this is also a land use and rezoning change. The land use is commercial. Surrounding parcels are commercial in nature, right here. Oops, let me back it up.
Yeah.
Sorry. Bad habit of touching the screen. Area itself is largely vacant, consists of larger parcels. This change to a low-density residential, this would be a change from commercial low-density residential in the area of a commercial. So this would be an isolated change itself. Also, the zoning request is to go from C1 to mobile home zoning. Surrounding parcels are C1 zoned. Area consists again of vacant land and larger parcels. And this rezoning to a mobile home district would create kind of a residential zoning in the middle of all this commercial actual zoning in itself.
Just swipe it.
I'm sorry.
This is working.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Gotta use my hand, sorry, I'm not used to that. Site is located along in this area here in red. Towards the southern end of the city, it's along an arterial roadway. The commercial land use kind of encompasses all of our commercial zoning categories. They can be the central business district, citywide. Uses typically tend to be separated from residential development. The residential land use category that this would be going to encompasses all residential from mobile home to single family, and pretty much all of our duplex and multifamily standards as well. It's kind of a catch-all for all of our residential. Typically, these are located, away from arterials, that sort of thing, and tends to have neighboring commercial facilities as well. Now, we're considering a land use change, which is low-density residential to commercial. There are 7 criteria within the comprehensive plan that have to be, they're kind of findings of fact, they have to be certain standards proven to do that change. Now, with this request for the land use change, it's low-density residential land use in the middle of a commercial land use category. So this could create compatibility and use-related issues because you have a lower intensity use surrounded by higher intensity uses. The use is also along arterial roadways you've seen in the last map along US 77. This could create undesirable consequences as well, traffic, noise, that sort of thing. And also, to allow a site change of low-density residential, staff has concerns that, if this is allowed, it may encourage other changes in the area, which could affect long-term economic well-being for that area. It's meant to be commercial, not more residential. Existing zoning C1 light commercial district, this is the existing zoning. It allows certain retail, trade, business, and service uses. This is the lower end of our commercial category. There's C2, and actually one of the lower ends. C2 is one of our higher end ones. These are usually major thoroughfares in our city. The mobile home HUD code manufactured district is basically the district that allows mobile homes. It's a residential category. Sorry, can we go back?
This is working too much.
Oh, it is? The uses that are added and subtracted, because you're going from commercial to residential, is all the commercial uses basically. And what's added is manufactured housing, either a park or a single individual use with the zoning change. The uses being added could be detrimental to the surrounding commercial zoning. As I said earlier, this is a higher intensity, this is a lower intensity use surrounded by higher intensity uses. If you allow rezoning to occur here, other rezonings could potentially occur here as well, reducing the commercial viability of that area. And other uses that are kind of detrimental to residential due to the arterial nature of US 77, Robinson Drive, could create noise and access related issues. In comparing the actual standards, development standards in the zoning code, we feel that staff feels these are minor in nature and not detrimental to any of the surrounding uses. So, based on the information that's been provided by the applicant, and that's within your packet as well, we have issues and concerns from a staff standpoint in regards to the land use change and the rezoning. We feel it would not be compatible with future commercial development in the area because the parcel is in the middle of commercial. You would reduce zoning along there from commercial to residential, which is a lower intensity use, and potentially affect economic well-being of that area if more rezonings were to occur, if this rezoning were to be approved and land use change approved as well. At the September 19th meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended denial 5-2. And based on the fact that they recommended denial, in order to approve this rezone, you need a supermajority vote. That's 6 of you. If you were to deny this, it's just a simple majority vote. And that ends my presentation. The applicants are here tonight. They may want to add to this and also indicate some items as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have anybody else like to speak on this item at this moment? Applicant have anything to add?
I think the applicant has a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the letter.
When was the house purchased?
It was purchased last year in August, I believe, yeah.
August of last year? And then when did you start renovating it?
The beginning of this year.
Of this year?
Did the prior owner mention to you any problem with the zoning or
No.
why it was the way it was?
No, she didn't mention anything about that.
How long did it sit vacant?
From what the previous owner had told us, when we bought it last year, 2023, she has said that they had barely vacant that property in March of 2023. And we bought it because we want, my husband likes the countryside.
Mm-hmm.
And he liked the property, and also because it was already a mobile home
Yeah.
there. So we went ahead and bought the property for them, signed papers and everything. But she never did mention anything of the zoning issues or none of that stuff.
So David, when did this fall out of like compliance?
Hold on just a second. Hold on just a second with that question. Do we have anybody else to speak on the public hearing? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 7:10. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, when did it fall out of compliance?
when the zoning was changed to C1, whenever that occurred.
Uh-huh.
And then, based on your recent code changes, it used to be 6 months, the non-conformity, if it were abandoned or not in use could continue. That's increased to a year.
Uh-huh.
You're now outside of that year category, so they have to rezone this land in order to make that permitted use, basically make that use a permitted use, so they can reoccupy.
And that's because of like water was cut off?
Yes. that's
Okay, so no water was running within a whole year?
correct.
It sounds to me, I don't know what month the water was cut off, but they bought it in March.
Bought it in
But
August.
It was 6 months when they bought it, so they likely bought it right either the moment that was gonna be, changed, or within a month of it being changed.
You mean
So
our codes?
We didn't change to 12 months till recent.
Usually
So-
October 1st.
So when she purchased it, it was
Oh.
under the 6 months, so it was likely already out of compliance.
Yeah.
The non-conforming, the legal non-conforming compliance, when she bought it. So, or right there after it.
And you purchased it like from a realtor, or was this like a person-to-person transaction?
Realtor.
A realtor. So it's like, how can that be disclosed and not disclosed?
That's
I mean,
a,
there is.
can't answer that
another
question.
mobile
I
home
can,
next
but I
to
can't.
that
Yeah.
property and other three in front of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know how can that, just that one place just be commercial.
And all of those are occupied?
yeah, there's 4
Yeah, there's existing around it.
legal non-conforming residences in that same area. Correct, there's 4 existing.
There's one on the corner, well, two
No,
on
I
the
get that,
side.
but I mean, she
That
bought it,
ours
didn't
property
know
there,
that
and
when
then,
they started fixing it up in
um,
January.
other
I think
three or
it's-
four in front of us.
David, is this property is on sewer or is it septic?
The septic.
Septic. We don't have sewer out there. Correct. We don't have sewer out there.
Is
So
there
my-
any option or verbiage in the ordinance to allow a non-conforming to remain without changing the zoning?
Right, because it just seems like it was just like a,
Matter of
Not the
days.
circumstance that was looked into when the rezoning, when this originally came in.
I don't know, I'm playing devil's advocate in my mind right now, but I would say I'm for changing this. Normally, you won't hear those words when it comes to manufactured housing districts. I would not normally be in favor of that, but its location, it was existing, the timing of it falling out of conformity. I know this is zoned commercial. We don't have sewer there, so commercial is not going there. Not
Anytime
any
soon.
intense commercial anytime soon. And if it does become desirable for commercial, I think the value of what they're gonna be offered for the property
yes.
will make it a non-issue in terms of them being able to sell. I know it's your home, you don't wanna
Yeah.
sell it, but if somebody wants to offer you big money coming in and they want to develop that wedge right in between those two roads, I
Yep.
think that they will still have the opportunity, and it's just rezoning it to commercial then.
And changing the
I
land
hate,
use.
and changing land use.
Mm-hmm.
It's all procedural. I don't
Yeah.
think this is something that will cause us to lose any, not in the near future, any economic development in that area.
Yep.
I don't think this is gonna stand in the way of that. I think that this is an exception to where I normally sit on 2 factors, spot zoning and on MH. I don't necessarily want it, but it was there, it's already there. You wouldn't have known it otherwise. You didn't know it was there.
Nope.
And I
And
think this
others.
would be the one case where I would support it, being changed to, manufactured housing zoning.
And that on top of she purchased it through a real estate agent.
That's a
legal
whole
issue.
nother
That's not
issue.
a city
That's
issue.
a whole nother
Right, but-
issue.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
Because this can and has happened up and down 77 in our commercial zones now, to where, you know, you have a property that's selling and it's residential. Well, they're selling non-conforming uses in a commercial zone. Hasn't been a big deal because those homes have been occupied and or,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
continuous use, so it didn't lose its.
It didn't lose it. This one, losing it is,
I
yeah,
can't
it's
believe that it
unfortunate for, I feel what you're saying, Mr. Rogers, as far as the same as, you know, this is, property was already there, and
It's just a matter of timing.
it was a timing issue. And I also agree that, yes, we want 77 to change. This is on the far south end of town. Again, Market would buy them out. You know, if this turns into something hot and commercial, then they're gonna be offered a price that, yes, yeah, we'll take it and move on, you know. And you say there's 4 other current
There's at least
mobile
4.
homes around it, right? Yeah, I know there's one particular, but.
Mobile homes they're just non-conforming residences. How many, are there any of them mobile homes? I counted 4 houses, residents people are living in.
They would be non-conforming to the zoning category they're in, all of them out there. We have no mobile home zoning on the map.
Mr. Dingman, you were at this meeting. What was the conversation like in the planning and zoning meeting?
Well, we didn't have, there's pieces of information that you were getting that I did not hear. And the other properties, I thought, when I heard the presentation, I thought this was a single item sitting on the property, and there was nothing else around it. Now, I'm hearing that there are other similar properties there. So this becomes an exception, and were I to make a decision based on what I've heard this evening, I would agree with Mr. Rogers.
Yep.
But, we did not know that.
There we go. I can't remember what I had for dinner, but I mean, he's remembering, meeting notes. Very impressive.
I do have a question, or not, a comment. So with this motion, that would change that half an acre lot to manufacturing housing district, right, on half an acre. I don't know how that house or that mobile home is situated. If you could add another one, like if they decided in the future to subdivide that land. I don't know from a conditional perspective that, you know.
Put something in there that says.
Yeah, we don't want the area to grow.
Right, yeah.
Right. So, you know, for them and what they're looking for, I'm agreeing with Jimmy, but what I don't wanna do is promote potentially an ability for someone to segregate or divide the land and put another mobile home on that property, because that is now considered a mobile home district.
Yep.
You can't do this under an SUP with conditions? No?
Not allowed.
Not
So
allowed.
much red tape.
What about the division of property, Mr. Harrell? What is the potential?
It's,
0.53 acres of land. Can we bring up my PowerPoint again, please?
I don't mean to interrupt, but it's on septic, so what are our restrictions on acreage and septic?
Yeah, they couldn't get another septic.
There's your stop for division.
Okay, I'm just
It's on
making
septic.
sure we're covering.
I forgot that it's on septic.
It's on septic, so you can't put another septic tank on that half acre.
Okay. So no issues with that?
Even with an aerobic system?
You gotta have.
No, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
You're gonna need, septic, you're gonna need more.
We require an acre.
An acre for
We
even
require an
aerobic?
acre.
Look at us go.
For both.
Okay, because
State law
aerobic
is a
takes up
half
so much
acre.
less space.
State law is a half acre, but city
Okay.
ordinance requires an acre.
All right.
Yeah, I normally wouldn't do either of these two. Normally wouldn't.
Well, I think it's a matter of bad timing, or just the timing
Oh, this is the right thing to do.
that handicapped them.
And the net
Yeah.
change is 0. Nothing truly changes from what
Exactly.
was existing here,
No harm, no foul.
other than a family gets to live in a home that
That
they
they've
just
already been-
purchased
Yes.
expecting to be able to move in.
Yep.
Where are y'all staying now?
In Waco.
But are you still on a daily, weekend, weekly basis remodeling the home?
Well, would we like to call a question?
Yeah, I'd make a motion, oh, let me back up.
I know,
Yeah.
I was trying to.
Sorry, I went all the way to the bottom. And I'm about to hit the multi-page jump button.
I can do it. I'm
You
here.
got it?
It's a comment.
I'd like to make a motion for approval to enact ordinances 24-000503, changing the land use from commercial to low-density residential and zoning from light commercial C1 district to HUD code manufacturer housing district on the .53 acres located at 4178 South Old Robinson Road.
I second.
Okay.
And before we vote, it has to be unanimous of us tonight.
Yes.
It has to be all 6-4 to pass.
Super majority.
I'm not saying that to pressure anybody.
Should we poll the council on this one, Mayor?
I don't think we'd need to, because if we hear one nay, then it fails.
Okay.
So, we do have a motion to approve as stated. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
There
No
we
abstentions?
go.
No abstentions.
You'll finish your job.
You may stay in the
Need a
house that you
remodel.
bought to live in.
Get some water turned on.
Yeah. So sorry about the hoops.
Thank you for your insight as well, Mr. Dingman.
Yeah.
I need that hypersonic button. There we go.
I only know when I hit it when I don't want it.
Yeah. when you
The
don't want it.
hypersonic scroll.
Okay, item 10 is a public hearing. Conduct a public hearing, consider possible action on ordinance 2024-031, an ordinance of the City of Robinson, Texas, amending ordinance 2024-001 by modifying Chapter 19 Utilities, Article 6, 7, Cross Connection, Control and Backflow, Section 19-56, Testing of Assemblies to the Code of Ordinances of the City of Robinson, Texas, providing for an effective date, providing a savings clause, and finding and determining at the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public and is required by law. Public hearing opens at 7:23 with commentary. Mr. Harrell. 7:23. Hi, Ryan.
Thank you. The original code for this is in the Utilities Code. It was passed January 2nd of 2024. All this code change does is it reduces the time frame for residential inspections from 1 year to, actually should be from 5 years to 1 year. I got that crossed, I'm sorry. For low hazard areas. There are low hazard, high hazard, systems hazard, and pollution hazard definitions in our code for all of our backflow preventer and cross connection systems. This reduces the low risk one from a once a year inspection to 5. That's all this does.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak on this item during the public hearing? Close at 7:24. Council have any further discussion?
Just a question, did we have any conditions, or are we good with it as from our conversation in the workshop?
I'm good with as is.
I think it is.
Was it something we needed to make a motion on?
It does need action.
Motion to enact an ordinance amending ordinance 2024-01 by modifying Chapter 19 Utilities and Article 7 Cross Connection Control and Backflow, Section 19-56 Testing of Assemblies to the City Code of Ordinances, providing for an effective date, providing for a savings clause, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law.
Second. All right, motion is to approve ordinance 2024-031. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 11 and 12 were put on consent. Item 13, is there any further discussion on the garage sale and estate permits?
I think the consensus was to do away with the permits and then maybe up the amount of garage sales to 4 times a year.
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter.
Okay. Anything else?
It was, and then staff's gonna draft an ordinance, that clearly defines the do's and don'ts of what's allowed, what's not allowed by ordinance, and then it becomes
Was this
complaint-based
teeth?
enforcement.
Yeah, they're gonna
Were you doing
present-
this for teeth? I knew
Teeth.
you were.
They're
You
going to
just like-
present a teethier ordinance.
Yeah, yeah.
Your words, Destiny.
Yeah, the teeth ordinance was if we kept, if we kept it to where we issue permits.
Oh, okay.
If we're gonna remove them, then there's no need to have them be able to identify themselves.
But still have parameters around how they conduct
Yeah,
it.
which there are out there now, so those, the only thing that would change in the ordinance now would be the quarterly versus twice a year.
We just need to be diligent when we're driving around on weekends to make sure we don't see garage
Let you
sales
handle
every,
that.
like, look,
Again, it'll
again.
be mainly
I would
complaint
just
driven.
add that without permits, trying to keep it quarterly administratively will be difficult, cause we won't know, since there's no permits. I think it would be easier to just set a certain number of times a year, and just, you know,
Okay.
then if someone says,
Well, then we did 4 times a year, but
Have
it's
we
in
had
the
any-
ordinance that says you can't have it back to back anyways.
Have we had any problems with 2 times a year?
Let's make an issue of a non-issue.
have we had problems with people doing it more than 2 times a year?
Well, I know that, but
Well, people calling in being like, they're having another garage sale
Let's just do it at 4, don't do quarterly, just a total of 4 per year.
because our ordinance already says you have,
can you
have it
hold it
back to
4
back.
weeks in a row? Or is the ordinance
No.
It says you
protected?
can't have
Can't.
back to back.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, I
enough.
think the ordinance will specify, does the ordinance currently specify days of the week and stuff too, or number of
No.
days?
Mm.
It just says not back to back.
So you could,
Hold on, let me see.
you could come in and say, I might have a garage sale that starts
On Wednesdays.
February 15th and ends November 23rd.
Yeah.
Yeah, there needs to be a date. Leave it to
Well, most
Craig.
of them run.
30-day garage
Yeah.
sale.
Friday,
Dates of
Saturday,
succession.
And the Sunday.
Nobody has time for that.
The second sale cannot begin until at least 10 days after the last day of the first sale.
But we don't say how long each
And
one
we needed
can
like a
be.
3-day max. Friday, Saturday, Sunday or so.
Yeah. Except on holiday weekends.
No, I don't see it.
Excluding leap year.
I just
like-
say 3-day max.
Yeah.
Yeah, who wants to hold them more than 3 days?
I know.
Yeah, I don't see holidays.
I would make that adjustment at least.
Yeah.
To say,
Garage sale not to exceed 3-day max.
Day garage sale.
Could you restate what you're asking to be in the ordinance for minutes when you decide?
What to be in the ordinance?
Yes, what you're changing, so I can put it in the minutes. I just wanna make sure I have the 3 things that you're asking.
Yeah.
Okay.
so 4 times per year, garage sale not to exceed 3 days maximum, and you're removing the requirement for
Permit.
The permit.
issue.
I would suggest,
Four
since
times a
we're
year.
going to do this,
No
let's
more
go
than-
ahead
no
and
more
add
than
a
3 days,
section
so.
specific to estate sales, because estate sales really are different than a garage sale.
Cause that can't
I
be
noticed,
longer.
I noticed a couple of these examples you have in here, you have an estate sale.
Yeah, we
Because
don't
in
have
a s-
anything in ordinance about estate sales.
Yeah, cause estate sales are kind of specific, I mean, typically it's you're selling the contents of the home and everything. So, I think it wouldn't hurt just to separate the two, what is an estate sale versus a garage sale. We don't necessarily have to require permits for them, just have that, you know, this is an estate sale, not a garage sale that somebody's
So
having.
have the definition.
Yeah, have a like the one example you have here, it talks about, they're permitted in specific zoning districts. You know, like basically residential zoning districts, cause you're selling the estate of a home, you're selling the contents or whatever. Versus, you know, you can't necessarily have an estate sale at a business that's not necessarily zoned retail or something like that, so. But I just think something to set, cause I know we've had a couple instances where somebody's wanted to do an estate sale, we've kinda handled them like garage sales, but they are kinda different. Sometimes they run specific dates, or sometimes they may have people come in and view and hold an auction on site or something, so there is a little variability there, so it wouldn't hurt while we're doing this to just go ahead and maybe add a little section about estate sales.
Okay, so they stated on the garage sales, 3-day maximum on estate sales, how would that be worded?
Might have to do a little research on that, cause I
So
don't,
I think
I don't
we
know
could
how
probably
typical.
work
Yeah, I
out
think we
the
need to-
nuances and what,
But one thing about estate sales is typically you're not gonna have multiple ones. So like
Right.
this ordinance example here, it can't be one at the same property more than once every 12 months. Cause if you're having estate sales,
Doing it again.
somebody's passing away a lot at the same house.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think we've had an example of that in the city, is, someone saying it's an estate sale when it really is not an
It's a
estate
garage
sale,
sale.
they're just calling it an
Yeah.
estate sale.
yeah, trying to get around the garage sale ordinance by saying, well, not a garage sale, I'm in an
I
estate
think
sale.
they feel like it gets better foot traffic
I had
that
this,
way
this whole
too.
last weekend, so I'm going to.
Yeah, so I think just putting a definition and maybe some parameters about what is an estate sale and how frequently they can be.
Proof of a death certificate.
I don't know, sometimes that's
That's even
you'd be
higher.
surprised the number of things we deal with where people have had somebody pass away 30 years ago and they never probated the will, and they just keep handing the keys down, and it's like, oh, it's my house, my parent, and then it's like, well, none of you legally own this person. Well, they died 30 years ago. It's like, oh.
I never inherit
So
houses.
it gets to be interesting. It's like car titles, you just sign it and give it to somebody and it's good,
Somebody
right?
else. It's their issue.
Okay, we got the direction on that?
Yeah.
All right.
Mobile homes.
Nothing else?
Realtor sales.
And so we'll also, with the permit being removed, we will remove, the city issued yard signs as well, the yard signs being issued.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
we'll
people
still
have to buy their own yard signs.
Okay, but we'll still keep it in there that they're required to use commercial produced signs.
Yeah.
Okay.
No arts and crafts signs with glitter.
And they still can't put them in the right of way,
Okay.
even though they do. And they're not supposed to nail them to the poles, even though they do.
Come on, man.
You know, you get enough of those nails in a pole and they rust out the pole.
you mean it doesn't make it stronger?
No.
Doesn't put steel on the core.
No, the folks who own those poles don't like those nails in those poles.
Yeah, if you try to climb them and you get stuck with them.
Yep.
When do we get the high-speed internet?
I don't think there's climb poles anymore.
No.
Yeah, I don't see it.
No, they get cherry
You're
pickers.
being sarcastic.
Still.
Insurance probably eliminated that hardware.
Okay. We good here on 13?
Yeah.
Conduit?
We have some people in the audience that still have a presentation to make. Item 14, discussion and direction regarding the replacement of the dump truck. Do we have any further discussion on that? Do we have the
No, I
direction
think
needed?
I think we got what we needed from the workshop.
Okay. Nothing else to add on there, then we will move to item 15, discussion regarding the city taking over ownership and maintenance responsibility for the streets in Hunton Estates. Mr. Guy,
Yes.
it's rare we get people hanging in this late, so, you know.
Hey, you've come to a good one, okay?
Yeah,
We
this-
got those
this
were
has been
good
a lot.
proclamations.
I gotta give you guys credit, this has been pretty lively.
Yeah.
We got some good stuff on the agenda.
Yeah, started out really good for sure.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Go ahead and do your presentation.
So the Hunting Estates Homeowners Association, Andrew Guy, 613 Perry here in Robinson, Tom Haynes, tell them your address.
I'm at 624 Lindsay Lane.
So we are both on the board for the HOA. And you may or may not know that we own our own streets in the subdivision of Hunton. The city doesn't spend a dime on our streets. They're our streets. And the proposal that we want to talk to council about is if we were to have a catastrophic event in our neighborhood in one of our streets, we could not possibly repair it. Be bad news. Yet, the sentiment of all of the residents are, hey, but wait a minute, we pay taxes just like everybody else, but we get no street support whatsoever. So tonight, the good news is, we're not asking you to do anything for us because we don't need you to do anything. We do it ourselves. You won't find any cracks in our streets because we have budget items, line items to take care of that, and we do it every single year.
So if you haven't driven our streets, come drive them.
I'm in the wrong neighborhood. I like the way this sounds.
They're really nice. So let me tell you what we are proposing to council, Hunt Estates, is that we would propose that we sign a contract with the city that we continue to maintain our streets. We continue to pay for crack sealing. The HOA would maintain authority over the neighborhood streets, including we don't allow people, residents, to park on the street. Not because we're mean, they're not wide enough. When you park on the street, it's very difficult for two cars to pass safely. So we really restrict people from parking on the street. And if you know the houses, most of them have great big huge garages, they have long driveways, there's plenty of places for people to park. But what we'd ask the city to do is to be an insurance policy for the taxpayers of Hunton Estates. And if we had a catastrophic event in our streets that we were unable, we could not possibly repair, we would want the city to step in that event. So that's what this is about. Do we need something from you now? Absolutely not. Do we need your money? We do not. It's what if this happens? And our residents are going, wait a minute, we're taxpayers to the city. You mean the city would help us repair a street if it caved in and we had a 10-foot hole? We couldn't fix that. We'd be out of business. That's our proposal to council.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I can give a little bit of history and insight in this subdivision. This Hutton Estates originally started out developed by Perry Hall Homes. Its intention was to be a gated community, and that's why it was going to be, it's HOA owned and the streets are private, because originally they were going to be gates. Well, Perry Hall Homes developed it. They got almost all the way, well, they did get completely done with it, and then that company went bankrupt. I believe that Barnett Contractors did the work in that subdivision. Do you know?
I don't know.
I think it was Barnett.
They did the first couple streets.
Yeah, they did the first couple of
Foley did
streets.
the rest.
Okay. And then there was a couple other locals that did some work I know in there that are good quality. I believe I built the first home that was in there for Mr. Bob Vetter. And then again, that subdivision at that time that went through some financial struggles. It sat dormant there for, probably 2 years. And then it got picked up by a bank, and then therefore, boom, then it started moving it. This was proposed by Brian Ferguson several months ago, if not a year ago. I guess it was several months ago.
Earlier this year.
Earlier this year, okay, makes sense. And then I ran into him again, and he wanted to bring this in. I said, it sounds like something that we as city council need to talk about because of his exact issues and concerns. But I'll turn it over to Craig and let him talk about pros and cons and city side.
Well, I think, so, when it was first approached, it was more of the city taking over basically as right-of-way. This, us kind of acting as an insurance fund, that's one I'm gonna probably have to talk to the attorney about, because I don't know, I mean, typically it's either, it's a public street or it's a private street. This almost sounds like you wanna maintain all the HOA rules and everything, whereas typically on-street parking would fall to the city council on a public street. They would have to make the determination whether or not they were gonna restrict that, so that's one I would have to talk to the city attorney about. I would just say that, just from our standpoint, and while the streets have held up really well, the oldest phases have held up really well. Some of the newer phases are new, so it's a little early still to tell. But the streets were not required to be built to city standards. The right-of-ways are there's no dedicated right-of-way. It's basically a dedicated common area that's 31 feet wide, whereas normally on a public street we would require 50 foot of right-of-way. So they are basically, the property line is the curb, where in most of our neighborhoods we have another 8 to 10 feet beyond the curb. So it would be a little bit different there, but I'm not sure about either, like I said, my experience is it's either city street and the city does the maintenance, or they're private streets, and so I definitely am gonna have to talk to the attorney.
What if the neighborhood presented a zone change to a PD, which it is a PD, right?
It is a PD, that's why it has private streets.
Well, so we have PDs that have public streets though.
Yeah, but they weren't proposing the PD to be private streets.
Right.
I mean, typically planned developments that are private streets, like you said, typically they're gated. That's why they wanna have private streets, cause you can't gate a public street. You know, you can't, just like you can't specify who can park. You know, we get into situations, neighborhoods where people will get upset because their neighbor's parking in front of their house. Well, that's in front of my house. Well, it's still a public street. Like, you know, you don't get to segregate out part of the street. It's a public street is a public street. So, so that's typically why you see planned developments that do the private streets, because they want that control over their streets. Not just from the maintenance standpoint, it's they want that control over where people can park and those kind of things. So that's
And
typically why you see it.
If I may just interject, I mean, we don't tow people, we're, you know,
Yeah.
we're not heavy-handed. What we're trying to do is keep people from parking on the street, just from a safety concern.
Yeah, no, I understand
You
that.
know, Huntington, it has an S. We've had accidents because people can't see around parked cars. One of them was a Robinson school bus that had an accident because they couldn't see. It's when the band came and played in the neighborhood, but there was an accident that day. So it's not that we are towing people, or it's not that heavy-handed. We're just trying to get people not to park on the street so that the access for cars is safe and as wide as possible. So it's not, again, I don't want it to sound like we're like super.
Walking around the neighborhood.
No,
or
and I understand.
Yeah.
Chalking tires and stuff like that.
And I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. So typically you have a homeowner association, and like you said, yeah, you can just notify people saying, hey, we don't allow parking in the street. And hopefully most of your residents follow the
And
rules.
most do.
Once you're a city street, you can't necessarily do
No,
that.
we
That's what I'm
know
saying.
that. We know that that's.
You know, you can't.
Were we
Yeah,
talking
you're gonna
Bentwoods?
let go of some of that control in order to gain that insurance.
And I would
like
think
I said.
that would be a good trade-off.
But it sounds like we may, I mean, this is the first step. It sounds like we need to get with Mike Dixon. Because of, again, right of way, do all these need to be replatted and right of way given down each lot? I mean, does it have to happen, does it not? I mean, it sounds like we need some research on our end to know, in order to take this over, how do we come together?
Yeah, fair enough.
This is bound to have happened before, so I'd like to see some examples of that.
Yeah.
But again, this is, like I say, the first step of presenting what you're wanting to do and seeing if we can get there or not. So,
Yeah.
Thank you, council.
Totally
Yeah.
seems reasonable.
thank you very much.
The legal part.
I guess my question to council is are we good with proceeding and giving direction to, looking into this further? And
Yeah, I think it makes sense to me.
I think we need to obviously do some more due diligence. The right-of-way access really troubles me. I mean, so how do we overcome that? And then, I'm good because, you know, again, they've been paying taxes all this time, same as you and I. None of that actually pays for any, there's enough to pay for the fixing of their own street. By the way, do you really want Robinson fixing your street?
No, he says they got it.
You really, really want?
We got there to fix it and we already got it done.
We're good right
Yeah,
now.
no guys, we got it done.
We're really good right now.
I say that lightly, but you know, the thought is legally, the right-of-way access, and how do you get that now? Because requiring everybody to plat, that's an expensive venture.
Well, that's what we have to look at. I mean, and there's a couple other issues. I mean, another issue is if these were city streets, we would have required a second point of ingress and egress. We would have allowed just a single point and things like that. I don't know, there's a way to do that.
Width-wise, construction quality-wise, we have concerns there too.
No, that's what I was asking. Like, is it narrow like Bentwood narrow? I mean, I don't feel
No,
like it was
streets are still
particularly.
the same, they're still 31 feet,
Yeah.
which is normal.
So I think,
Yeah,
I
they're
think
30
Harris
foot
Village,
back.
You're just used to a 50-foot right-of-way with 10 feet on either side. This is a 31-foot right-of-way.
They're as wide as the
How do
streets in
we-
the other subdivision.
how do we do, and this may not be related, but like, water taps, the meters, are they not?
It's a utility,
There's utility
there's a
easement.
20-foot utility easement on either side of
Okay.
the
Okay.
street.
Yeah, they've been digging it up plenty, believe me, there's utilities. Believe me.
We have all felt that pain.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah, I think that we just need to do our due diligence here.
Mhm. Yeah, again, this is one of those instances where it started out going one direction and then, well, it changed really quick, you know, once it failed and got reopened and remarketed to what it is today.
Yeah, and really whoever's doing it probably should have come in at that point and said, we want the rest of this to be, but like I said, it would have definitely created the second point of ingress and egress issue, because we would not have allowed that on a subdivision. You know, if you have an accident there at the entrance of Hunting, and then there's a house catches fire in there, it's really hard to get back in there.
And you can't because there's a gas line going beside that entrance.
Yeah, right there.
Just wait a little while and it'd be a moot point. So,
No, I just have issues with the fact that it puts the city in the position of being almost a private insurance policy in the event of a catastrophic event. And then, I mean, how can we be held liable for the repairs if we don't own the roads? That's what bothers me.
no, they would have to be,
Are they gonna reimburse us for the time and effort
No,
and
we
materials?
Well, there's an argument to be made on that, and I'm not saying where I'm at on this decision, but there's an argument to be made on that point, is that they pay taxes the same as you and I.
But they pay taxes under the agreement and condition that they have an HOA that took it over.
I get it, but we didn't discount their tax.
And they paid for their road.
but we
They're still
cannot
fixing them.
spend public dollars for private purposes.
Correct.
There you go.
So
Correct.
they would have to be dedicated city streets in
Right.
order for the city
Yeah.
to go in and do
I,
that.
my thought is, that's the direction we have to go, but as I think about that, that's gonna be pretty cost prohibitive to do. I mean, when
I'm
you
not
start,
sure what the
I'm talking about on the homeowners, cause I don't think the city pays for the replatting. and-
Well, I don't
and the
know
whole
that it has to
process.
be replatted. I'll have to look at it. Do you
Yeah.
have any
Be a
idea,
nightmare.
David? Do you have any idea? Have you ever dealt with where private streets became dedicated public right of way?
I'm afraid I have not.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to talk to her. Yeah, I'm not sure that every individual lot has to be replatted. It may just be some legal document that dedicates, it may just be that there the right of way is 31 feet wide,
Ingress, egress,
so.
access, or?
Yeah, I think we have to do the due
It's gotta,
diligence.
it's gotta go through.
My-
I mean, technically, right now, the HOA owns the roadway. So it's not like each individual property owner owns a section of the roadway. The HOA itself, the legal entity that is the HOA owns the roadways. So, but I have to talk to Mike about that, what that process is. But yeah, I don't see an option where we could spend city funds if they were still private roads.
No.
That's just,
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
so,
that's-
there's another HOA operating in the city that city owns the streets, that Harris Village, so,
That's what
I
I was
mean,
just talking
it-
about that.
to me,
there are people who set up HOAs that way.
yeah, and so, they still enforce the parking over there, and then I'll tell you what, they bring a hammer, a sledgehammer, an axe, if you've ever, I lived there. Gary Hart is a nice man, till you violate one of those, and so, he will bring his hammer. So you could still enforce things.
Right. Okay, that's exactly.
You can still, I mean, the city parking may not be as enforceable, but
Huh?
Gary Hart enforces it.
Yeah.
He absolutely, you cannot park a car out there more than a couple of days, if so, it might get towed.
He's chalking tires.
Yeah, and
I think we
he's sending
have
you a
ordinances.
fee, a fine for that. I know, cause I had a neighbor park their car in front of my house, and they send it to me. It's not my car.
What? They can't.
So you still can enforce some of those if the city owns it. At least I see it happening in the city right now, whether it's legal, I don't know, but he's enforcing it.
I was gonna say, we have ordinances about how long vehicles can remain parked on the street without being moved and stuff like that, so,
Yeah.
but it's just, yeah.
Might visit with Gary Hart on how he does that.
Right. He's got it down.
Boy, he enjoys that part of the job.
Yeah, well, HOA has their own rules, and again, HOAs can enforce whatever rules, cause when you purchase the property, typically those restrictions are included with the deed and
They
You're-
run with the land.
yeah, they come with the land.
Is that in your neighborhood, Jimmy?
So then they
Used to,
can't.
it's in your neighborhood? No, I used to be, Harris Village off of Gregg. Okay.
So
Small
can they
little
legally
patio
do
home
that?
So you're
neighborhood,
agreeing to those.
that has an HOA. I think
Just
it's
the
the
house
only
that's
other
already
HOA in
been
town.
HOA.
Yeah, you don't have to have private streets to
Can they
have an
control the
HOA.
person on the street or not?
So,
But typically, if you have private streets, you have an HOA
Then how
because
can
somebody
you
has
just
to pay
say-
for the maintenance.
Craig just said
if I
that
heard
they could.
correctly, the concerns, but y'all still wanted to go this way because you still
No, I
want to be
know,
able
yeah, I
to
got that
enforce
part, but
those.
I thought that was.
Is that's kind of the,
We thought what would be most
Just reiterate.
agreeable to the city is if we said,
Yes,
look, we're not
yeah,
asking you
I
to
would
come
do
do
that.
anything. We don't need you to do anything. We maintain our own streets. We
appreciate
thought that would be
Christmas party?
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
thing that you could hear. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, well, I mean, the best thing you can hear is all streets go private.
yeah, and to me, that might just be the safest way for the city to proceed, but I don't know. I think
What's that?
For the city to take
Yeah,
full,
so-
full ownership of those roads.
I
And
think
you,
you'd
and you
have
still don't lose your control. I really think that there's a path there for you to enforce what you want to enforce. Because, again, we have an HOA enforcing parking rules on the street today in the city.
Yeah,
Whether it's legal or not, I don't know.
that's exactly, yes.
We're not saying guests can't park on, we're talking about residents.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry.
You got a big old garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, use it.
And this was
They do
a,
have big garages
It's a
over there.
long driveway.
this is a neighborhood that has very small driveways, very short. You can't pick them. And so their children were parking their vehicles. You'd have four vehicles per house there, but you only have parking for,
Right.
and nobody, but over there, he parks in their garage. They always park outside or in the street. Probably because they already enclosed their garage.
Can't do that in our subdivision.
But they're not supposed to do that either, at that HOA.
Well, you need to tell so-and-so about it.
He knows.
Okay, council, to just end speculations and whatnot, I just want to ask, are we okay with proceeding with sending it to legal, putting staff on to furthering the investigation to see if this is something that we do want to do or not?
Yes.
I would say go that far
Okay.
at least. That-
This is step one then, and then we should have a lot more information when it comes back again.
Thank you.
It won't
Thank
be
you.
next meeting.
Yeah, it
We've
won't
already
be
got
the
a big,
next
long
meeting.
list for next meeting.
It'd probably be November, December, I guess.
First thing to do is see what kind of time the attorney has.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item 16 is workshop on an ordinance that is deleting in its entirety Appendix A zoning, Article 2 Supplementary District Regulations, Section 11.11, Site Plan Approval, and adding Chapter 26 Site Development as indicated in Exhibit A. Mr. Harrell, for presentation.
Thank you.
I'll be right back.
What these changes are going to do basically is, establish a more formal process and procedures associated with site development in our city. And that would be for anything that's not single-family, two-family on a lot, or agricultural related uses. So basically, what it's going to do is there's a site plan portion of the code right now, it's in the zoning code, section 1111 of Appendix A. It will remove that appendix, move it into a new chapter, I believe 26, of the code. And what it will do is expand upon certain things and add several new items.
Oh, wasn't the battery dead and you had to do the touchscreen?
It started working and then,
Oh,
there we go.
Ah.
Gotta get close.
Touchdown.
This expanded code will basically allow specificity in our development process. It'll give you, for example, what goes with the application, completeness reviews, submittal reviews, that sort of thing, and timeframes associated with it. Code doesn't have that now. It also sets up the authority and considerations for things. So also one of the portions of this will set up what we call traffic impact analysis requirements for certain developments that trip certain peak hour trips. And basically what that does is help mitigate the impacts of development on the city's systems or other systems to offset potential improvements to those. Basically what will happen is the TIA will tell what impacts are needed, what their impacts are, what's needed for the changes to that system that they're going to impact, and what what steps need to be taken to mitigate those impacts. That is basically the whole site development code in a nutshell, and I'm here for any questions you may have. And this is a workshop format. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Harold, question you had on the TIA there, there it is, I was just trying to track that down. What do we have now triggering a TIA, and what will the change make?
Right now, there's no TIA requirement the city has. What would trip a TIA requirement, with the exclusion of a few exceptions, would be anything that generates more than 100 or more AM, PM peak hour trips. And what that is basically certain uses. There's a big guidebook from the Institute of Transportation Engineers that dictates what uses, how much each use generates at a certain AM time and a certain PM time. You add those together, if it's 100 or more, they have to do a TIA. If not, they don't have to do it. And also, there are options in this code, if you don't want them to do a TIA, they come back to the council for a development agreement. So for example, if we know the impact is on one city system, and we don't need a TIA to tell us that impact is 100% on that city system, they could negotiate with, work with administration to come to council to approve a development agreement to mitigate those issues. So the idea will be, if we know what the impacts are, we don't need to initiate a study that's a cost to do, tell us what those impacts are already. So it's designed to be a cost-saving factor for something we're absolutely certain about.
And that's something that would be handled in like a pre-development agreement or sort of meeting that, and then the developer would bring that.
Well, yeah, we would sit down with the developer, the administration side of the house, work with that developer to try to come to some understanding of what these impacts are going to be or what should be done in this case. Bring that to you in an ordinance format for you to approve, basically. This is typically done with cities that are what we call fast-growing cities. This is normally what's done.
Are we considered a fast-growing city?
You will be.
Here we are preparing
Look
for.
at us go.
I do like the fact
You say
that
it louder for me.
being,
I like the way you said it. You will be.
I like the fact that staff can have some control in that meeting of saying, hey, this is what's going on. Okay, we can see that this is gonna be an impact here, then yes, then we don't need to say a TIA automatic. Because we've been through those and we see that sometimes those aren't warranted, but yet that money could have been used in a better way. So I do like that idea.
Normally, what we did in Elgin is, if it was a situation where it was, and I'm just, what we did there, normally they worked with admin, we would work, kind of hammer something out, they had an understanding of what, you know, you as the council would wanna see and what we would like to see on the admin side, and we just bring that before you. That doesn't mean you can't negotiate with the developer at that time as well, or they come before you before. I'm just saying a generalized idea, this is how we did it in the past, what I'm used to. Doesn't mean it can't be done a different way.
Because right now, a lot of times these developments are coming in and we know there's going to be an impact, but ultimately ultimately the taxpayers are gonna have to come up with money to address a future problem that maybe we could head some of that off as part of that development process, as opposed to just saying, well, we'll just have to figure out how to, I mean, that's part of this, SS4A grant we're getting is to go back and try to deal with some of the, issues on 77 with delineation because of the developments. If you're going south on 77, I go that way and I get in the left turn lane to turn on East Moonlight. People going to Cefco, they'll enter the center turn lane as they come across the intersection, and here we are meeting head on. And so, you know, now we're gonna have to look at going back and potentially putting in some kind of raised median there for that left turn lane to force the cars to go past that to turn into
Yeah.
Cefco. So as more and more businesses are coming along the highway, we're creating traffic issues. You know, when TxDOT says we'll put in a right in and a right out, but then everybody just U-turns back against it because there's nothing in the median to, so.
But this
you know,
is, you're talking about something that's coming though in the MPO that hopefully fixes 77 up
20 years
now.
from now.
Well, let's hope for sooner.
It's in the 2050 plan.
Revision.
We grow faster, it happens faster.
And there's a lot of stuff on that list, but, yeah. But the point being is these developments are coming in, there are things we can do you know, one of the things we need to see, what is the impact of that type business gonna be, and is there alternatives? And like I said, if there's all the impacts on one location, then maybe there's something can be done to offset that. But right now, we're just kinda, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Right.
And we can give you all time to
Yeah, this
process
is just a
some more.
workshop on, yeah.
So, we can give you,
Council, have any questions and look through that at this time? Need another week or so to look it over?
I would definitely say that, and maybe I
You sure
can-
you didn't do that all this
Well,
weekend?
I read it, but
Staring
I'm
at
not
it?
telling you.
Well, all right.
Did I understand it? No.
Right.
I mean, I think I could probably just come in and instead of mulling it over, I think it's better for me to come in and just meet with staff just to get that understanding of it, because it's not just knowing what it says, but how it's applied and how that,
well, and
this
the
is new
hope,
territory. for me.
Application and effects.
and I think the hope is, so pretty much everything that's in here is required at some step in the process, but it's not clearly defined as a step-by-step process.
Correct. You already have standards in the site development code of what to provide, and you have some standards in regards to the approval process and that sort of thing. This, as I was saying earlier, there's existing items that need to be expanded upon, which it is in this, and there's new items like the traffic impact analysis that have been added.
Yeah, so a lot of this is just trying to pull things from zoning, things from subdivision into one code as opposed to spreading it out over a couple of different codes so that it's
It's a
one
little
place to-
cumbersome to work through.
Yeah, one place to point developers to as opposed to saying, well, you can find part of it in the zoning code and part of it in the subdivision code.
That's normally what we did in Elgin. If they contacted us, we would say, here's the codes that you need. Here's the zoning code, here's the subdivision, or here's your site development code, here's your zoning code, here's your landscaping code, here's your fire building. Look at these places. If you want to do civils, your site development code is here, and all that, landscaping and zoning, all that apply to this site development code. So it makes it easier for us.
I like hearing that. Definitely easier as we speed up growth, but it's gonna be needed.
Speeds up growth once it gets to here. Still a lot of back work to do.
Correct. Yeah, I
It's
didn't
more
fully see it,
bureaucracy.
but I'm with you.
Okay. Any further discussion on that item at this time? Then we'll move to mayor and council member updates and requests to items be placed on future agendas. Mr. Baker?
I have nothing.
Ms. McLean?
I have a question. Do we have anything like in the works for the replacement of like Tate by the school district? School districts,
School district?
plural, yeah, by the schools.
As in, are you looking for like where it is in the ranking of?
Uh-huh.
So we have a list of streets.
Yes,
And the quality of streets.
right, yeah.
We don't have a specific, I mean, most of the streets that's in that plan is, this is the street and when it's,
Neighborhood streets and,
when it's its turn, we're gonna redo that.
right,
The challenges on Tate is it probably needs to be widened and
Mhm.
turned into a boulevard and,
I know it's not just like,
yeah.
oh yeah, like we can replace the street, but I didn't know if we have a plan in
No.
works or how that looks,
No, we don't have
because
any
it is
kind
such
of,
a,
We're gonna be buying houses.
Yeah, the biggest problem on Tate is there's just nothing to work with.
yeah, totally get it, but I mean, is it not probably our most traveled road?
Only at
So
times.
there are also options in how to get away from Tate and use Lindale and use longer,
Yep.
better planning versions to where Lindale comes around and hooks into Moonlight and you get off of Tate. So do you spend millions on Tate and fix it, or do you plan on this
well, and
future project?
we're kinda getting,
Wait,
we're
so do
kinda
we-
getting into the weeds when we can,
Yeah,
but
sure.
there is a component of the SS4A grant that includes a Safe Routes to School study
Yes.
to try to look at
Okay.
potential options to improve traffic flows around the schools.
Right, and that's the grant that we,
Right.
right,
Just
okay.
got-
That's, there's 400,000 dedicated to that.
And that's like lighting, sidewalks.
Well, no, that's.
No, this is a
This is just a
So we
study
were
for
talking-
safe
That's
routes.
the study, and that's the Safe Routes for School, and it's the last segment of the grant, and you won't see it till 2026 or 7 when that study's.
No, we can move it
We
up.
can move it faster.
Yes.
I just looked at it on their.
But that's gonna
timeline.
tell us what the best route, whether it is tape,
It'll look
whether
at
it's
options.
all
I'm not,
together.
I'm not saying, oh,
It'll
we
give
need
you
to fix
options,
tape.
it won't necessarily, it isn't paying for it, it's
Yeah,
just
so
paying for the
some of the
study.
issue is that tape needs to be widened, and you're gonna have to buy a house or 3.
Totally get it, but I mean, if we don't have some, you know, like, I just wanted to know if we had something in the works, you know.
Not in the
Linda.
works, so.
Linda, yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Well, we're gonna
and then
actually
this
have a
study.
discussion about streets at the next meeting.
Cool.
So
Well, you
we'll
just
actually
steal my
have
thunder.
Oh, so.
everything we've done and everything that's still kinda out
Yeah.
there, and how do we wanna go forward?
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
we need to think about, cause we don't have we put a list of streets together 6 years ago, 7 years ago. We worked through about 2/3 of those, but in the meantime, more streets are on the list. But we need to probably come up with more of a street master plan, which we don't have a
Stealing
formal
my
street
thunder,
master
Craig.
plan. So we need to talk about.
What, am I really?
No, Craig's stealing my thunder.
Oh, right, okay.
I got nothing to add now.
Did we determine the next meeting?
Two Tuesdays.
It'll be November 5th,
Fifth.
it's election night.
Yeah, and I will mention here, we're most likely going to have a TERS meeting that night in lieu of the workshop, because we have a couple of issues, TERS issues we've got to address. They're nothing, just agreements approved and stuff like that.
I wasn't sure if we were meeting because of the parking and.
It's never been an issue.
It's never been an issue.
I had to walk a little further last time. It was.
It's part of our health.
I'll put on my tennis shoes.
It's part of our
What do you think
council
Jeremy
health
had
plan.
If you can park in our
Yeah, that's right.
empty pasture block. That's where,
You put it in.
so there's
I
plenty.
have a
you
real
just have to
long
walk.
driveway. You can park at my house and the PD will run you over here. and
Not
take you out.
again.
Can I
I
ride
didn't
in
miss
front this
McLean.
time?
That was it, yeah.
Can I
Anything,
ride
Mr.
in front
Steiner?
this time?
Mr. Mastor, do you have anything?
Not a thing.
Mr.
I
Rogers?
have 2. I'd like an update on the streets, where we've been, where we're going, and maybe discuss a street master plan, but
I already put that on the agenda, basically.
I'm useless.
Actually, I've had that on the agenda for about 2 months.
I'm
Come
useless.
on, come on. Give me one.
All right, we will adjourn at 8:08.
It's easy for you to say.
I've actually